Hi, my name is Suri Crowe, and you're watching the MeidasTouch Network. The Republican-backed abortion bans are killing women. That is the determination of a medical board in Georgia after they reviewed maternal death records there.
And now people are dying. Women are dying. The choices made by George W. Bush and Donald Trump are now killing people. ProPublica is now reporting about the death of a 28-year-old woman in Georgia who died because of what George W. Bush and Donald Trump did to her when they appointed those Supreme Court justices.
The victim in this case is 28-year-old Amber Nicole Thurman. Amber's case is the first time that a medical review board has deemed her abortion-related death a preventable one. In other words, she died as a direct result of the Republican abortion ban laws that were set in motion by the right-wing Supreme Court when they reversed Roe in June of 2022.
Amber Nicole Thurman would be alive tonight if Donald Trump did not win the Electoral College in 2016. Donald Trump increased the Republican majority in the United States Supreme Court and started the clock ticking on Amber Nicole Thurman's life. They got what they wanted. George W. Bush and Donald Trump overturned Roe versus Wade, and now Amber Nicole Thurman is dead.
Amber Thurman was a healthy, single, young mother, a best friend, a sister, a daughter who found herself pregnant at a time that she just wasn't ready to take on more children. And right at the time that her home state of Georgia had passed a 6-week abortion ban in a post-Dobbs era. So she made a trip out of state and got a prescription for the mifepristone combo pill, which should have been a path to a safe and uneventful abortion within the standard of care for her 9th week of pregnancy. But after a week of heavy bleeding, on the evening of August 18th, according to reporting by ProPublica, Amber was vomiting blood and passed out. Her boyfriend called for an ambulance and she was taken to a nearby hospital. And by the next day, Amber was dead. And do you want to know why? Because the doctors and nurses at this well-equipped suburban hospital in Georgia were too afraid to give Amber the life-saving medical treatment that she needed, which was a dilation and curettage, also known as a D&C, which is a minor and simple surgical procedure that would remove the remaining fetal tissue that Amber hadn't passed, which was causing a massive infection inside of her body. The very same procedure that MSNBC's Lawrence O'Donnell says his own mother went through many, many years ago in a staunch Catholic community in Boston.
When I was 6 years old, my mother had the same medical procedure that Amber Nicole Thurman desperately needed to live. My mother had given birth to 5 healthy children, but she kept going. She was trying to have a sister for her only daughter, trying for one more. And she suffered a miscarriage, and she routinely had a D&C at a local hospital in Boston years before abortion was legal, because D&C has absolutely nothing to do with abortion. None of the Catholic nuns teaching me at my elementary school then thought my mother should not have that procedure. Our beloved Monsignor Brandley knew that when mothers in St. Brendan's Parish had miscarriages, the doctors should give them whatever treatment they needed. Anti-abortion Catholic doctors performed that procedure routinely. There wasn't a single Irish Catholic politician in Boston, including the mayor and the district attorney, who ever tried to interfere with that medical procedure. Their sisters were having that procedure. Their daughters were having that procedure routinely in anti-abortion Boston, because it has nothing to do with abortion. Nothing. If a politician interfered with that procedure and killed my mother when I was 6 years old, who's going to tell that boy? Who's going to tell that 6-year-old how his mother died and who is really responsible?
I don't know who is going to tell this precious little boy that His mama is gone because of decisions that fanatical Christo-fascists in robes and misogynistic men on political power trips made. That it was because of those decisions that his young, vibrant mother was ripped away from him when he was 6 years old. Amber Thurman suffered in that hospital for 20 hours, according to medical reports uncovered by ProPublica, as her blood pressure dropped precipitously and as the infection spread throughout her body. Here's an excerpt from that report. That morning, even when an OB diagnosed acute severe sepsis, which means a massive blood infection, by 5:14 a.m., Thurman was breathing rapidly and at risk of bleeding out, according to her vital signs. Even 5 liters of IV fluid had not moved her blood pressure out of the danger zone. Doctors escalated the antibiotics. Instead of performing the newly criminalized procedure, they continued to gather information and dispense medicine, the summary shows. At 7:14 a.m., doctors discussed initiating a D&C, but it still didn't happen. 2 hours later, lab work indicated that her organs were failing, according to experts who read her vital signs. And at 12:05 p.m., more than 17 hours after Amber Thurman had arrived, a doctor who specializes in intensive care notified the OBGYN that her condition was deteriorating. And it was 2 p.m. by the time surgeons finally got Amber into the OR and began what was now going to be emergency and attempting to save her life surgery. But at that point, it was too late because Amber was in massive organ failure. And while she was in the OR, her heart stopped and she died. And all of this was preventable.
Any doctor who violated the new Georgia law could be prosecuted and face up to a decade in prison. Thurman waited in pain in a hospital bed, worried about what would happen to her 6-year-old son. As doctors monitored her infection spreading, her blood pressure sinking, and her organs beginning to fail, thanks to George W. Bush and Donald Trump, for the very first time, American doctors believed that they were under a legal order made possible by the United States Supreme Court to watch a patient's infection spread, to watch a woman's blood pressure sink, to just watch her organs fail.
You see, what Republicans like George W. Bush, Donald Trump, the court whisperer for the Federalist Society, and all these right-wing extremist billionaires like Harlan Crow, the one who funds Clarence Thomas, his name is Leonard Leo, what all of these right-wing fanatics with endless piles of cash have done is they have forced doctors to go against the Hippocratic oath that they swear to uphold when they become physicians. And that oath is first, do no harm. So to stand around and watch this girl die when they had the power, the medical knowledge and skills and the tools to save her life the minute she walked into that hospital literally makes me physically ill. I wonder how they're all feeling. How do they feel that day when she died on the operating table? ProPublica reports that until she got the call from the hospital, Amber's mother had no idea that Thurman had been pregnant. She recalled her daughter's last words before she was wheeled into surgery. They had made no sense coming from a vibrant young woman who seemed to have her whole life ahead of her. She said, "Promise me you'll take care of my son." Do you know that I've read that passage I think maybe 25, 40, 35 times at this point, and it just devastates me. I can't imagine the pain that her mother and her family continues to go through, losing their daughter and their sister, but now knowing that her death was completely preventable, that all doctors had to do was snap their fingers and perform a simple procedure that up until the point that these draconian and medieval laws were passed by Republicans, they could have quickly and easily saved her life. And the thing is this is not an isolated incident. ProPublica is also reporting that the medical board has deemed the death of this woman, Candy Miller, a 40-something year old mom of 3. She was a very high risk for any further pregnancies. Her doctors had told her, do not get pregnant again, because she had comorbidities, lupus, diabetes, and I think there was something else. So for her to get pregnant again was going to be very potentially life-threatening. And when she found herself pregnant, she was afraid to go to doctors because she too was living in Georgia in a post-Dobbs era. And she was afraid she would be criminalized or prosecuted for trying to terminate her pregnancy. So she tried to handle terminating her pregnancy on her own. And she died at home in her bed. Apparently after taking the combo abortion pill pack as well. And it wasn't the abortion pills again. Those are very, very safe. It was the complications allegedly from taking too many pain pills, which was found in her bloodstream. But again, these are women who could have been very easily and safely treated by medical professionals, except for the fact that those medical professionals now felt handcuffed. Elections have consequences. We are now living with the consequences of President Bush's appointment of Justices John Roberts and Samuel Alito, and Senator McConnell's blocking of President Obama's rightful pick to put a justice on the Supreme Court. And now we have this right-wing court that was stacked out by Donald Trump, and women are dying, and little girls are going to die, and little girls, children are being forced to carry their rapist babies. And it's gonna continue until we sweep out the rot of the court and take our freedoms back. Like, this is madness. This is medieval. Women bleeding out while doctors and nurses it makes me so angry. Childbirth is dangerous enough, and we have skilled medical staff and hospitals that can treat this and save lives. Like, seriously, do not tell me that you are pro-life when a young mother is left to bleed out and suffer for 20 bleeping hours and leaves her son orphaned. No, that's not pro-life. And for all the religious zealots out there, here's a reminder that Jesus, while he was on this earth, he never once mentions abortion. No, he never once talks about abortion. He talks about caring for our neighbors and taking care of the sick. It's not a thing with him. Abortion is not something that Jesus ever talks about. He was the original feminist. He was the OG feminist. He was for women having rights. So this whole thing about removing our rights and our bodily autonomy from us and having little girls and women suffer, I can guarantee you that God is absolutely not okay with this. He is not okay with Amber's young son being left alone. He's not okay with that young girl suffering while doctors and hospital staff stood around saying, whoa, I don't know, is she sick enough now? I mean, because that's what's happening. These medical staffs are waiting around to see, oh, is she about to die? Is it now okay for us to do surgery? That's not pro-life. Like, you can just, I'm salty Suri right now because I'm about to just, like, you can write off. You can write off Mike Johnson and every single one of you. Like I said, I'm just going to zip it. I need to get off. I need to stop talking. But I have some strong words for those son of a you-know-whats who call themselves pro-life when they've stamped this. And here's Donald Trump bragging about it. I was the one who did it. Right. Well, goodbye, you. We're sending you away. All right, you guys, we have 40-something days left to go before Election Day. We know what to do, and that's to take our freedoms in this country back, because this is not okay. I am not okay with this. And in the name and the memory of all the Ambers and little girls out there who have suffered because of these draconian laws, I say we're taking it back. My name is Suri Crowe, and you are watching the MeidasTouch Network. Thank you very much for sharing and watching. Please comment below. And as always, Peace.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.